Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at some of the two-year-old stakes action on Saturday at Belmont at the Big A in New York. Race 8 is the Grade 2 Miss Grillo. This one going the mile and the 16th distance for the two-year-old fillies, a prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf later in the month of October. Before we get to the handicapping for this race, though, we did launch a podcast recently at Daily Racing Form. It's called Off the Track. We've got about 10 episodes recorded at this point. Our colleague Gino Picola has been hosting it, getting some great guests on. We had photographer Barbara Livingston on last week. This week's episode, we had trader Miguel Clement. So some great content being produced, interviews with participants in the game that you want to check out at Off the Track. And you could do so on Spotify, YouTube right here, or Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. Mike, we've got an oversubscribed field for this Grade 2 Miss Grillo. There are 13 runners entered for the turf. Only 12 will get to participate. The 14 Caradice, she is an MTO. We hope that she doesn't participate under any circumstances, and that's unlikely with a nice forecast predicted for this weekend. It's a pretty interesting field in the sense that a lot of the main players are drawn towards the outside portion of the starting gate. So some of the jockeys are going to have to work out a trip from the dog leg that this starts on the inner turf course at Aqueduct.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. I mean, the real strength in this field is to the outside. And I think there are some really nice horses drawn towards these outside posts. So we'll see if, being hung out there works against them as far as trip is concerned. Because if it doesn't, those horses on the outside are going to be tough in here.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this Miss Grillo. And the number 10, Miss Picky, she showed a lot of speed to get over from a wide post position when she broke her maiden second start out at Saratoga for trainer Todd Pletcher. So I'd imagine the plan is going to be similar under Kendrick Carmouche to try to get her out and forward. But the number 5, Believe in Magic, she has shown good sprint speed. So she's probably quick enough to make the lead if she wants it, especially given the fact that she's drawn more inside from this post position over a configuration where it can be tough to make the lead from outside draws.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if they decide to go for it again, like they did with Miss Picky in the maiden win last time, where she was outside and just cleared that field into the first turn. I don't know that they'll be that aggressive with her this time, David, but we'll see how it all plays out. If they don't, Believe in Magic could be in a good spot here, making the early lead.
If you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button right below the video. We've got a lot of handicapping content planned this week for all of those final round Breeders' Cup preps. Also, a lot of content planned right around the Breeders' Cup on through the next several weeks. So you don't want to miss any of it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1, Kara's a Dream Chaser, a New York bred stepping out into open company here. And she definitely improved with the switch to turf last time, Mike, but she got a very good trip to earn that maiden victory, saving ground around the turns. And I like the way that she won very professionally, but she's going to have to do better to be a field of this quality.
Nice maiden win last time. Clearly improved, switching to turf. Great post position here. Probably also in a little too tough.
The number 2, Day to Day, is a horse that won her debut at Colonial for previous trainer Michael Trombetta, was privately purchased out of that race, switched into the Safi Joseph barn. They took a shot in the Grade 1 spin away on dirt after that. I mean, she basically got eased at the top of the stretch, but still managed to stay on for 4th at that race, which I think says a lot about how much running was going on behind the winner, Tommy Joe, in that race. But Mike, she is getting back to turf. She certainly handled the surface on debut, and she's got plenty of pedigree to say that at a distance could be fine for her.
Yeah, maybe this is just the right surface for her. They took a shot in a Grade 1 on dirt last time. It didn't work out, but maybe she's just cut out to be a turf horse, and they switch her back to the right surface here at a really big price. I mean, it's not like there's nothing to like about her, and she's 20-1 on the morning line.
The number 3, Ground Support, was 100-1 when she won her debut. No, I'm not using hyperbole there. She actually was 100-1 when she won her debut race at Kentucky Downs. We'll take a look at the replay of that one. And Mike, for a horse that went off at such a gigantic price, she ran a pretty professional race. I mean, she broke a little bit slowly, but got right into that pocket position, rode the rail, didn't seem to be scared to come on through a tight hole in mid-stretch along the inside, surprising the leader as she went up the inside of that foe to burst clear in mid-stretcher and hold on late. This was a likable performance. I'll just say, those Kentucky Downs maiden races, I know they offer some gigantic purse. Some of them are strong, but some of them can come up really weak. And I kind of wonder how good that field was that she defeated.
Yeah, you have to worry about that. You also just have to worry, that it's such a different type of turf course too, that you'll get horses that run really well there and won't run as well on other tracks. And, that sort of happens in reverse. There are 2 horses that are no-shows there will run way better once they get away from there. So we'll see if she can repeat that performance. I'm not going to knock her for pulling off a huge upset first time out. And as you point out, she ran fine in that race, but it didn't make me want to bet her back in here.
I'll point out her dam arch support was second in this very race during her racing career, finishing far behind the likable, popular Winter Memories. The number 4, Miss Call, is a horse that got out to a turf route in her second start after closing belatedly over a sprint distance on debut, and it seemed like the added distance worked okay for her, Mike. I don't know if she improved so much on the debut race, as she just got a pretty good trip. She showed off a nice turn of foot to put that field away in mid-stretch. I didn't love the way that she sort of came back to them at the end of that race, but she got the job done. That was a much weaker spot than this one, though, one of those maiden optional claiming races, and this is a gigantic step up in class.
Yeah, just hard to like her here moving up into a graded stakes race. I mean, she actually ran fine in each of her first 2 starts. Really good trip last time, but got the job done. I just based on the first 2 starts, David, it's hard for me to really get behind her in a race like this.
Number 5, Believe in Magic. She is cross-entered in Thursday's Matron Stakes at Aqueduct, but our colleague Dave Grenning did report that she is going to run in this spot instead. I guess she drew pretty well. Maybe she can make the front here, though she does have to prove, Mike, that she can get some added distance because she has sprinted in all of her prior races. I will say she was meant for turf second time out. She finally got on that surface last time at Kentucky Downs in the Untappable, finishing behind Quiet Street. We'll get to in just a little bit, but I thought this filly actually ran pretty well because that was an honest, contested pace. She put away pace rivals in mid-stretch and just got swarmed by closers at the end, but she never gave it up. She was really battling gamely to the wire. I just don't know if I really buy that she's going to get better with added ground.
It'll be interesting to see if she does. Yeah, that's a major question for her. But as you've already sort of pointed out here, her Untappable was a pretty solid performance there. She was involved while the 1-2 finishers, who I both think are really nice horses, they sort of sat back and made runs through the stretch. So I'll give her some extra credit for, being around at the end. It's only 6.5 in her most recent start, but it played those races play a little bit longer at Kentucky Downs. So, maybe she will get the mile, and maybe she'll make the early lead here too.
Number 6, Rose Room, is probably not going to be on the early lead. This filly does not have very much early speed at all, and she does finish well in her races, but finishing with the speed necessary to get there has been a little bit of a problem. We saw that on display last time in the juvenile fillies at Kentucky Downs, where, Mike, it just felt like it took her so long to reach top gear, and she finally did in the final 16th of a mile of the race, but by the time that she was sort of really leveling off, the race was over, and she ran by them after the wire. So she's going to have to find a way to get a little more involved at this level if she's going to get the job done, because I know she won on debut at Delaware. That was against a much weaker field than this one.
Much weaker field. You could see her take a long time to kick into gear in that race too.
Yep.
She got through on the inside, but it took her a while, and then she finally overtook those horses very late stages to get clear. And you could see it the Kentucky Downs race too, David. I mean, just swapping her leads back and forth there. She's not a total professional horse yet, but she's really well bred. She's going to be running late in this race. She's probably going to be a fair price. I'm not, I don't love her in here, but I'm not totally against her.
Number 7, El Barrio, took 3 starts to break her maiden, a couple of attempts on the turf. She finished second to a pretty decent one in her first start on the turf at Woodbine back in the middle of August, and then got the job done last time on the day that they ran the Natalma at Woodbine, going that same 1 mile distance on the inner turf course. This race went a little slower than the Natalma when El Barrio got the job done, but Mike, she did get a wide trip and made sort of this relentless rally from mid, towards the back of the pack to get the job done after never really having an opportunity to save any ground. I don't know what she was really beating that day, and I think this is going to be a bit of a class test for her, but she probably is going to be a pretty big price in this race.
Probably is. I just didn't like her win last time enough to really get interested here in a stakes race. Her first turf start too back on the yielding ground there. The short comment says smart rally final 8th. I didn't see that. I just thought she was kind of a suck up second in there, never threatening the winner, and she only improved mildly last time, in my opinion.
The number 8, Boomington, was visually impressive when she won her debut against New York breds at the end of August. She got a pretty good trip until they got into the stretch because she saved ground on the turns, but found a little bit of traffic when she was initially trying to come up the inside, had to alter course. But as soon as John Velasquez got her 3 wide into the clear, Mike, she finished with a flourish to get the job done. And we did see the runner-up from that race, who also had a spot of traffic trouble, did come back to win last week pretty convincingly against a New York bred field at Aqueduct. So at least the form lines are solid for Boomington. She's just going to have to run faster against a field of open company rivals.
Exactly. I mean, this might not be the right spot. I liked her debut. I thought she ran pretty well in there. As you mentioned, once she altered into the clear, she really kicked in with a really nice finish. They paid a lot of money for this horse. So even though she's a New York bred, that might not really matter. She's probably better then the 56 buyer makes her look on debut. We'll see if this is the right spot.
Like, I wonder if the number 9 Deep Learning is quite as good as the 85 buyer that she got in her debut, because that was a pretty high number for a 2-year-old filly. And we'll take a look at the replay of that debut race. I mean, you don't often see 2-year-old first-time starters on the turf get 80-plus buyers in the summer of those juvenile seasons, and she did. And it was a visually impressive score. I mean, you could see she saved some ground early, has to alter course in the lane, but once she gets to the outside of these two leaders, she really lengthens that stride of hers to run away from this group. And she's just a very leggy filly. It just seems like she's going to actually want to run longer than a mile and a 16th down the line when you see the way that she finishes off this race. But Mike, when you look that race up in Formulator, there have been a few run backs. A lot of them have not validated that 85 buyer. On the other hand, she came back in the grade 1 Natama last time, kind of an odd spot for Chad Brown to choose for her. And she is kind of easy to like off that performance, because she was just never really in a position to do much running until the very late stages when she ran out of ground.
The trip just didn't work out for her last time. I also feel like that's not really a race where you wanted to be left with a lot of ground to cover in the late stages, and she was way back off the pace. I think she was compromised by the dynamics. She was compromised by the position that she was in all through the stretch there, where she could never get out into the clear. She actually did really gallop out well past the wire when she got room. I really liked her debut. I hear what you're saying about the figure, and maybe it's a little bit inflated. Maybe it wasn't a good field. It was a super visually impressive performance. I think she can really run.
Yeah, I wanted to make that point because she's probably going to take money off that 85 buyer, but I kind of think that she's supposed to take money off the last race, because when you watch that back, she was the best horse in that race.
Yes.
She just finished 5th due to some bad luck. Up next is the number 10, Miss Picky, who did not draw that great for a speed horse. But Mike, she drew post 10 last time out when she broke her maiden under Kendrick Carmouche, or I should say under Irad Ortiz, who that day sent her right to the front end. Kendrick's getting on today, and I would imagine he's going to take advantage of her ability to start pretty sharply from the gate, trying to get her out ahead of some of the slower horses to her inside, maybe stalk Believe in Magic or get to the front end. Because once she got to the lead last time, she did run pretty well. She set a legitimate pace over a turf course that was not yielding particularly fast times, and she opened up impressively in the late stages. If she runs that kind of race again here, she's a factor.
Yeah, we'll see how, again, it'll be interesting to see how they decide to play this here from the outside again, if they're going to try to send off for the lead, because you could clearly tell that Irad had a plan to make the lead with her last time. And she had no trouble clearing to the front before they hit the first turn there. I thought they really let her settle in, David, on the lead in the backstretch. So they didn't really come after her. And then you could just see how much horse she had left when they got into the stretch there. And she just ran away from those horses. She was visually impressive. I wonder how dressed up that performance is, though, off of what I thought was a pretty soft trip on the lead.
The number 11, Field Doro, is another horse coming off a nice buyer speed figure on debut, earning a 77 for her first victory at Saratoga. I thought she got a very good trip, Mike. I mean, she broke from post 7, and Manny Franco did a really good job getting her over to the inside. By the time they got to the clubhouse turn, she saved ground around both turns. She did show a nice professionalism to slip through inside of Arrival at the top of the stretch. And you could see here, she angles out, and once she gets into the clear, she produced a nice turn of foot to settle this in the end. I just wonder, Mike, if she's going to be able to get this same ground-saving trip from post 11 now.
Yeah, the post position could really hold you back with this filly. We'll see what kind of trip she gets. But I just thought I liked everything about her debut. Good trip or not. She really ran once he altered her out into the clear there. I liked the way she held her position behind horses until they came into the stretch, and Manny was allowed to cut the corner with her there to get into contention. And she also she has a huge pedigree, David. I mean, she's bred to be a good horse, and she ran like she's a good horse first time out. I have her in there anyway, not to spoil the picks. I have her in there. I'd probably have her even higher if she didn't have post 11.
And we should mention the runner-up from that race, who finished length and a half behind her, did come back to finish second in the Solima at Laurel, and only regressed by a couple of buyer points. So she really did validate that 77 figure for Field Doro. The number 12, Quiet Street, she's won both career starts, including a stakes victory at Kentucky Downs. And Mike, both of those were sprint races, and both of them were races where she closed from the back of the pack and got pace to close into each time. So in that sense, she really did get very good trips in both those races. I still like the way she's been finishing off those efforts and stretching out to a mile and a 16th. When you look at the pedigree, it's not supposed to be a big problem for her, because even though she's by Street Boss, there is plenty of stamina on the bottom side.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't really worried about her stretching out, even with that sort of closing sprinter style that we've seen in her first two starts. I just think she's run really, really well in both of her starts, particularly that one that we just watched there. I know it was at Kentucky Downs. I think that was a good field, and she closed them down from last with a big finish. I really like her, David. This post position kind of stinks for her. We'll see. They'll probably just have to take her back to last again, and I don't love that for her. I think she's good, though.
Quickly mention the number 13, Dinah. I think she is cross-centered on the AE list in both the Jessamine at Keeneland and this Miss Grillo at Aqueduct. So we'll see if she gets a scratch in either one of those races to potentially run. I mean, Mike, she is coming off one of the highest buyer speed figures in this race when she was third in the Catch a Glimpse last time. And the winner of that race, Corsia Veloce, I mean, she came back to win at Atalma. So I guess validating that speed figure.
Yeah, first two races are both good. She faced Colts on debut and just missed. I thought she ran fine last time behind a really nice filly.
Would just be stuck with another awfully tough post, even if she got into this field. Let's go to our picks for this Miss Grillo grade 2 event for the 2-year-old fillies. And Mike, I looked long and hard at this race trying to find somebody clever. I tried to warm up to the number 5, Believe in Magic, couldn't quite pull the trigger on her. I just think the 2 horses that I've got first and second and you have first and third, they're just really good, especially Deep Learning we both have on top. And I might have flip-flopped if Quiet Street had a better post position. I just think these 2 might be the best horses in the race.
They're not going to argue with any of that. I do want to go back to Deep Learning here, just because, maybe, people will think she ran poorly in the grade 1 last time when she actually did. And we'll see how they bet. I like her races quite a bit. And have no problem with her on top. I did want to get that cox horse in the Filet d'Oro, though. I really liked her debut and I really like her pedigree.
9, 12, 5, 10 for me, and 9, 11, 12, 6 for Mike in the Miss Grillo race 8 at Belmont at the Big A on Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.